Hello and welcome, I'm SimUK, and it is my goal to provide to you the most honest, fact-based critical reviews on YouTube. If you find this review helpful, then please hit that like button, subscribe, and help to support the channel by donating via the links below. Thank you so much, and enjoy the review. Cyberpunk 2077 is an action-packed adventure game set 57 years in the future. You play as a mercenary called V, and after a good heist turns bad, you are entrapped by a futuristic prototype implant that promises a form of immortality for another, but at the cost of your own life.
You alright?
Never been better.
Sure don't look it.
The implant contains the remnants of Johnny Silverhand, a lead singer of the band Samurai and a dedicated fighter against corrupt governments and organisations like the Arasaka Corporation, who ultimately abducted and killed his girlfriend Alt many years ago. It is this single incident which sets the tone for the entire storyline: survival, knowledge, and revenge.
Tonight, I'm here to say goodbye to all of you.
Graphically, Night City, the open-world megalopolis, is impressive, with its hover cars, colourful AI inhabitants, and numerous futuristic additions that hustle and bustle all around you. Unfortunately, Cyberpunk's incredible environments do come at a cost. This game is not well optimised at all, but it does look good, even on the lower settings at 4K Ultra HD, and I was getting 60 FPS on the most part. All of the main characters are modelled well, the skyscrapers are relatively accessible, and there are numerous diverse locations outside of Night City as well, making the entire environment astonishingly large and impressive. Speaking of large and impressive, Cyberpunk 2077 has few restrictions when creating your character, yet at no point during gameplay will you ever see it. Even when looking in the mirror, there is nothing to see. Other than it being a marketing ploy then, there seems little reason for having included it as an option in the game at all, and it could have been more beneficial to allow deeper character creation options instead. Audibly, the hustle and bustle of the city does exist, and it's authentic to a point, but only when the audio is functioning well. Ultimately, it's good, but nothing more. Unfortunately, there are many issues surrounding audio. Character monologues which overlap or completely fail to play, audio snippets are also often missing when you're jumping or landing, and character soundbites appear to activate at incorrect times. Ultimately, the lack of polish surrounding the audio in-game just fails to immerse you. What exists is okay, but they really haven't done enough to deliver that wow factor that's required for true immersion.
Could have fucking crushed us. Jesus Christ. Okay, no, hey, we ain't looking for no beef with you.
That's not the only immersion-breaking issue in this game. At release, the game is buggy. Very buggy. Some of the bugs are funny, like floating objects and characters. I've seen many objects and people violently flung around the game, including my own character, who promptly got moaned at for not doing the task I was meant to be doing. But there are also some incredibly frustrating mission-breaking bugs as well. One example here, having cleared a base to free the leader of the gang, I stole an enemy car to get to the extraction point quicker. The only problem was that he point-blank refused to get out of the car, no matter what I did. When the car finally vanished, because lots of things just vanish and materialise in front of you all of the time in Cyberpunk 2077, another rather immersion-breaking feature, he also vanished with it, so I had no way of completing the mission. He did, however, auto-spawn in the van after a restart, but having worked so hard to complete that mission in a single go, it just left a bitter taste in my mouth, and it wasn't the only time it happened. It happened 2 or 3 times throughout my gameplay, and if you want to watch my gameplay, you can do that on one of our sister channels. So whilst the storyline is pretty gripping and interesting throughout, There are some areas where it feels like they simply jammed a square-shaped dialogue scene in an area where there needed to be a round one. But like I say, on the most part, it did work, and I was quite impressed with the vast majority of voice acting across the board, with Keanu Reeves delivering a reliable and authentic main character.
Sure. No going back on this, you know.
The game is pretty overwhelming when you start. There's so much terminology and interlinked elements which simply fly over your head when you start, and that is further compounded with a pretty basic yet completely unintuitive UI system that adds more frustration to an already confusing gaming experience. Over time you will figure out all the little bits that you don't understand or missed in the first 10 hours, and then you'll probably start to wish that you could go back and start again. However, the vehicle physics are just terrible, and they handle like a shopping trolley. What you see visually on the screen has little to no bearing on the direction that your vehicle is actually travelling in. The gun mechanics are equally poor, lacking realism and consistency, and ultimately it's pretty horrendous, even more so at the beginning when you have these useless weapons that don't really do any damage to anybody, often requiring 4 or 5 shots to the head with a sniper rifle to drop even the most basic grunt. I believe it has something to do with a random lucky chance value. And the auto lean feature is temperamental at best, as they always seem to be. I just wish that they had opted instead for a manual lean implementation.
Attention. Code Red has been initiated throughout Kenpeki Plaza.
Madre!
And follow all instructions given by staff.
We've got KIA!
What is vastly more infuriating than that are the animations around gunplay, which are incredibly slow and cannot be interrupted. If you get a headshot and knock an opponent unbalanced, it does seem that you can't actually hit him again until that animation has completed. And there have been many occasions where my character has died because of a glitch, or I am unable to shoot an enemy because they vanish through a solid wall or door. Ultimately, the game lacks polish and feels much more like a beta than a complete release, which is a shame because there is so much to be impressed with in Cyberpunk 2077.
Look out! Take that grenade!
One area that won't impress you are the high-speed chases, especially when the AI are driving. I've never seen a chase scene so slow in my life. It's important to note that Cyberpunk 2077 has blue-screened my PC once, crashed to the desktop at least 5 or 6 times, and I have encountered serious bugs about 20 times in total during my playthrough. That's not to mention the many hundreds of insignificant and sometimes rather comical bugs that I've encountered along the way. So the main story takes about 20 to 30 hours to complete, not to mention all of the official and unofficial side missions that you can engage in as well. This game is simply jam-packed with depth, and further broadened with the notion that the decisions you make shape the direction of travel for the storyline. The AI, though, are incredibly dumb. Not only do they patrol and position themselves to stare directly at a wall that's just a foot away from them, but you can simply sneak up behind them from anything up to about a 90-degree angle. Then you can take them out in a single move. That being said, some of the combat scenarios are intense, and you will do very well to get out of them alive.
Fuck! Of course you're here!
The tutorials in-game, I think, are pretty adequate, although there were quite a few areas that I simply didn't understand. Most notably the hacking and infiltration areas, and the upgrades and weapon customization area. To be honest with you, some areas I still don't fully grasp. I do take some responsibility for that and place it squarely at the feet of the cold that I've had since the game was released. My head isn't necessarily 100% in the game, and I have managed to figure out quite a few things just by playing the game. And it's also quite interesting to know that you don't necessarily have to advance and improve and upgrade everything in order to complete the game. You can just go through at your own pace, in your own way, and just play it as you wish. So it's good that they have accommodated that. You'll never get locked down because you haven't unlocked this weapon or that weapon, except for one section where I do believe you need to have a silenced sniper rifle, and I don't think you can get one prior to completing a certain mission.
Good stuff.
Ma'am, I'm sure you...
So like I say, I have had a cold since Cyberpunk 2077 came out, and it's done a great job of distracting me from my cold and flu symptoms. And during the gameplay, it has aroused numerous feelings: happiness, frustration, anger, laughter, and the hope that my wife doesn't walk in during this particular cutscene. All in all, even with all of the bugs and the issues that I've experienced, I have to say I have enjoyed playing Cyberpunk 2077. I think there's a lot of room for improvement, especially around stability and bugs, and there is, I think, a lot of room for improvement, especially regarding stability and the bugs that are in game, and both the gunplay and the vehicle controls could desperately do with an overhaul. But that being said, I am already considering what I might do differently the next time I play through this game. So that's a really good indication that I haven't been put off entirely. So, anything you think I've missed, anything you want to know, just ask me in the comments and I'll do my best to clarify it for you. But if this is a game you're looking at and you don't know if it's right for you, well, hopefully this review has helped make your mind up. On the most part, there's a lot of good stuff here, but it really does feel like a beta at the moment. It's got quite a long way to go before it feels like the polished, finished article. If we ever get to that point though, this is going to be quite an impressive game. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care of yourselves until next time. Goodbye.
So you're gonna consider my offer now? Creds on this.